during coffee, a lady actually approached me and said, "Are you the lithium guy?" Which is actually a first on me, because I've never been described that before. 9 months ago, I didn't really know much about lithium. My background, I've been in the natural resources and energy sector for over 30 years. It's gold, it's diamonds, iron ore, oil and gas mainly. But lithium was a new one on me. So what I'm going to talk to you today is about what we're doing in Chile with our projects, why we think we're doing it differently to most other companies, and we can do it in a clean way. Excuse me, and hopefully we can produce some of the cleanest lithium in the world. What I'm going to talk to you about is our asset base in Chile. Chile is a country I think is misunderstood. I heard some comments earlier today. I want to just give a bit more of a background on what is going on in Chile politically and why it's a good place to invest at the moment. And talk to you about what we're doing to try and make sure that lithium, and I'll explain what lithium is and the demand for lithium, what we can do to make a big impact environmentally in the production of lithium. And within the next 2 or 3 years, we think we can fast track a process to get lithium into the market, and the market is in short supply of lithium. As we say, hopefully we'll do it with almost carbon neutral, zero emissions. As a company, I'll explain later on what our valuation is at the moment, what the catalysts we think are for growth over the coming months. I'll explain about the management team, and again, as I say, explain about Chile itself as a country. Just a snapshot of Cleantech Lithium. The company's been around for 5 years. I'll take you through who the founders are. We're listed on AIM. We only listed this year in March. We managed to get the listing away when 20 other listings were pulled as the Russians were going over the border in Ukraine. We've got a Jersey registered office, but we've got offices in London and Santiago and Jersey as well, main office being in Santiago. We have 2 main licenses. I'll explain the details of those. Huge extent, we have 100% of both basins, which I think we're the only company in the world that's got 2 entire salar basins to ourselves at the moment. And just to give you a sense of scale, take the 2 projects together, they're about twice the size of Central Paris. So huge size. On one of those, we've got a joint resource of 1.2 million tonnes. And I'll explain more about that and why we believe that's going to go up in the next couple of months in the programme that we've been undertaking. And again, I'll talk to you about how we're going to extract the lithium and get it into the market. Just on the map here, 2 fields. Copiapó is one of the major mining cities in Chile, in the north of Chile, and the port there is about another 70 kilometres away. Excellent infrastructure, because this is the big mining area that we're working in. Come back to that. I won't dwell on this too much, the board, but just to give you a sense, this is the board that's actually delivered significant major projects over the years. Aldo Boitano there, who's our founder alongside Jason Baverstock. Aldo is Chilean by background, a mechanical engineer, but has worked in the States for 15 years. He's a doctor at Pepperdine, he's an MBA at North Carolina. He's been involved in major projects in Chile on the renewable sector, 800 megawatts of renewable power from solar. And just in his spare time, he's a world-class mountaineer. He climbs the St. Chris Bonington, and he's led Expedition K2. Quite an individual. Jason's his co-founder. They founded the company in 2017 and have secured those licenses, which I'll take you through in a few minutes. Steve Kessler has been CEO of 3 different companies. Escondida, biggest copper mine in the world. He took it from exploration all the way through to production. And then, this is in Chile, and then did the same again at Collahuasi, the second biggest copper mine in the world. So he's done it twice before, delivering projects from pure exploration all the way through to production. And then the 2 people in the corner here, as of today, we've just appointed a chief operating officer. He starts today, which is great because our team in Chile is expanding by the month. And the 2 people in the bottom right-hand corner, Marcelo and Pedro, probably 2 of the top 5 people in the world in lithium production from brine, and also in what I'm going to describe as direct lithium extraction. So they're partnered to us through various commercial arrangements. Lithium. As I say, I didn't know a lot about lithium 9 months ago, a bit more about it now. On the left there, lithium is the major component of car batteries, electric car batteries. And as you all know, the demand for electric car batteries is going to soar over the course of the next 10 to 15 years, driven by regulations in country and obviously the Glasgow protocols and so on. Benchmark Minerals are looking at a 20 times increase in demand for battery cells, obviously lithium being a major component of that. The problem is its supply. Where's the supply coming from? On the right here you see the two historical ways of getting lithium into the market is hard rock mining, a lot of that in the east coast of US and in Australia. It's an expensive process, it's not too environmentally friendly, it has that big carbon footprint. There's the other side, which is from brine, which is effectively salty lakes, taking the brine out of the lake. The historical way is to do evaporation ponds, mile after mile of these open pits where effectively you're letting the air surface do its stuff over the course of 2-3 years. Not particularly efficient, only gets about 40% of the lithium out, but it's a way that historically it's been done, and it does produce lithium. Bottom right there, you just see a little smidgen there. You're going to hear a lot more about direct lithium extraction, not just from us, but lots of other companies are looking at this now. In fact, there's 3 major projects in China have been running for the last 5 years using direct lithium extraction, effectively taking the brine out in a much faster and much more mechanically way, which I'll explain. And also there's other companies. There's a company called Lake Resources is operating in Argentina. Again, I'll explain that to you. But DLE is a way you can do it faster, more environmentally friendly, and in a way that gets to the market in a faster way. Pretty dramatic there. I actually took this photograph. That piece of rock down there, by the way, was spat out by one of these volcanoes 10 million years ago, and the geologist told me, about 2 foot wide. The reason I put this picture up is 2 months ago, this was a drilling site. That's all that's left. That will be tied in at some point, but this is a salty lake, about 400 metres away. It looks closer, but that's one of 4 wells that we've drilled in the last 4 or 5 months. The real message here is we can do it in a way which doesn't impact the environment in the way that other companies do. I was quite amazed at that. The only reason it's painted yellow is to stop cars running over it. We've got 2 entire basins, secured the licenses, obviously had to evidence that during the admission process, but we've got two entire basins in the northern part of Chile. These are 4,500 feet up. Interesting environment to go to. These are, oh sorry, that's the wrong one. This one. You've got Laguna Verde on the right there. Effectively, you've got a 15 square kilometre lake. It's not particularly deep, but the main reservoir is below the lake at about 300-400 metres. I'll explain to you about the drilling process we've gone through. But effectively, we've got a 1.2 million tonne resource, which was done from geophysical studies 18 months ago, and it was verified during the admission process. We've just completed a drilling campaign, and we announced to the market yesterday that we'll be putting new job information out to the market with the expectation that we will see a significant increase in JORC resource for reasons which I'll explain. One other piece of information we announced yesterday was that the JORC resource was based on 246 millilitres per litre, milligrams per litre. We were astonished. We got grades of up to 409, which blew our minds. We couldn't believe that we were going to get that. So in the press release yesterday, in the deeper zones underneath the laguna, through a slant well, we were seeing grades of 390, 400. That's twice the resource, or twice the grades of some of our peers, who has market caps in the billions. Francisco Basin is about 1.5 years behind Laguna Verde in the sense of progress. We've just completed one well's been completed, and another well we had to shut in because of the weather window. The winter's on its way in this part of Chile. We've had, from surface, we've had some high grades. We'll be announcing within the next 2 weeks the results of our drilling campaign with sample grades. I can't say too much about that yet, but we're quite excited about what we've been seeing. And that will go in. There's a zero resource in our admission document for Francisco Basin. We will get a resource, question of what it will be, once the job competent person's done his stuff within the next 6 weeks. 2 drilling campaigns. We raised £10 million of funds in 2 tranches, 4 million at the end of last year, pre-IPO, and we raised 6 million at the IPO. They say we were at one point going to raise a lot more than that, when the Russians had invaded. So we're pleased. We've got money to fund this drilling campaign and take us through to PFS. So we've got an active work programme over the course of the next 18 months to get this project to the point where we're ready to construct our first facility and produce lithium. We've drilled 4 wells. There's only 3 mentioned here, but actually we announced yesterday we've completed the 4th well. All wells drilled deeper than we expected. We were in brine for deeper than we had, the geophysics was telling us. In fact, average was 46% bigger aquifer thickness, which we announced to the market yesterday. So effectively what we're doing is, from this year, we're drilling down, and actually the 3rd well is a slant well, drilling down underneath the laguna. And effectively drilling down about 500 metres. 547 was the 3rd well. And we will have results out on that. We had some out yesterday, we'll have other results out within the next 4 to 6 weeks. Francisco Basin, virgin territory, we drilled a well there, 338 metres, we had 238 metres of brine aquifer thickness. There is brine, there is lithium, and the question is what's the grade? We'll announce that within the next 2 weeks. But we're really excited. I mean, being out there and just looking, as far as I can see, you've got this enormous area which we can utilise. Just a sense of what it's like up here. The nearest indigenous communities are 2.5 to 3 hours away. They're 2,500 metres below us down the mountain. We employ people on our drilling campaigns and so on. We get water from them and so on. You see that the surface here, there's no flora, there's no fauna, there's nothing there we can environmentally impact. I'll come back to where we are in the environmental impact assessment. But this is a great place to be doing business, to do what we're doing. Direct lithium extraction, it's something that not a lot of people have heard about, and there's a lot of suspicion there about does this work or not. It's working. In China there's 3 very big plants operating direct lithium extraction. So what's effectively happening here is we are through a drilling campaign, we'll extract the brine from those reservoirs and then put it through a mechanical and chemical process using a particular absorbent, a resin, which effectively captures the lithium. And then through the process you end up with the spent brine, in other words minus the lithium, which we will then re-inject into the reservoir, first of a kind. We've done the hydrogeological studies, we've got more coming, but this is the game changer, because we can do it because we've got 2 entire basins, and actually we're not aware of anybody else who's got that. So we don't have to knock on the door of a neighbour to say can we put it over there. So we can re-inject 4 or 5 kilometres away. We'll see in a few years' time, we'll do the hydrological test, we'll see the impact of that coming back, bringing more lithium with it. But effectively through a process, to get lithium, 2 days, not 2-3 years. And instead of 40% coming from evaporation ponds, you're going to have 80 to 90% of capture of lithium. And that'll be battery grade lithium. I think that's important to stress that. So what we're doing here is we've completed the process of laboratory test work to produce battery grade lithium. And what we announced yesterday was that the results of that are imminent, and I mean imminent. So that will evidence that from our brine and through the process we've got, which we've actually been patenting the resin, we will produce battery grade lithium, and that'll be an announcement we'll put out in the market in the very near future. And what does that mean? It means that allows us to move to the next stage. We have environmental impact studies undergo as we speak. We have to do a baseline study. We talked about the flora and all the local communities. We've got an independent international firm doing a baseline study over the course of next year. They have to cover the 4 seasons where you are now, and so obviously evidence how we're going to do this in an environmentally efficient manner. We are on the stage now. The results are imminent. is to turn that into a pilot plant, which we have the funds to construct and to get up and running. The plan is that will be up and running towards the tail end of this year, and the plan is to produce 10 tons of lithium, battery-grade lithium from that plant. So that plant will be constructed in a modular fashion. It will be taken out to site, and it'll be operated out there by doing exactly this, using the lithium in this manner. And obviously we'll be testing various things through that process. Other companies, Lake Resources is doing something similar. They've got a pilot plant that they're building at the moment to do something not dissimilar. We're in a fortunate position we can re-inject into the reservoir. So almost zero carbon emissions effectively through our process. So what else makes us good environmentally? One of the dynamics of this process is because you're not using evaporation ponds and letting the sun do its stuff, you're effectively forcing evaporation through this mechanical and chemical process. And the chemicals we use don't harm the environment, but you need quite a lot of power, and obviously power in demand and so on. We've got, Chile's probably the most advanced country in the world in terms of renewable energy. I think 60% of their entire power base is renewable, and that's growing. As I say, Aldo, our chief executive, built 18 to 15 megawatts of solar power on the plant. So we've got a number of options we could do here. We could build, the solar plants, this is a mining area, so it's well fed with power for the region. As it happens, we've got 2 substations within kilometres of our site from the gold mines that exist. There's a lot of village, there's more than enough capacity. We'll look to either do some solar ourselves, or we will tap into and do PPAs with the companies we're already in conversation about accessing the power. So there's a misnomer out there about DLE, you need power, you can't get power. We've got power. Power is not an issue for us. In fact, it's an advantage for us because we can effectively produce our own power. As I say, Chile's probably, just because of the nature and also being 4.5 kilometres up, it's the perfect area for solar. So power is not an issue. Another issue that people say is an issue for DLE is water supply. Obviously, water being a scarce commodity. Again, that's not an issue for us. It's not the great picture here. We're in an area of mining. There's been water being drilled in boreholes all around us. We've got access to those boreholes, or we can drill right next to them. Under the mining codes in Chile, you can access water for your production facilities on your licenses. So water for us is not an issue. I think we need 20. If we're going to do a 10,000 tonne per annum facility, which is stage 1, we'll need about 20 litres per second. We've been offered 380 litres per second by a mine down the road, and there's other options we've got on site. So for us, water is not an issue. And likewise at Francisco Basin, again that's about 30 miles away from Laguna Verde, there's boreholes being drilled there for water. So for us, water's not an issue. The next 12 months, you can see up there Laguna Verde, this is the main road actually, and over here on the right is Argentina. It's 20 miles away is Argentina. This is the lithium triangle where there's the most lithium supply in the world, in Peru, Argentina and Chile. Over the next few months we're going to have an upgraded resource at Laguna Verde, and we announced that yesterday. We're saying that's going to be around about July, and we will have a maiden resource at Francisco Basin. So we're naught at the moment, will be something beyond naught. Lab scale test work, well, we're at the point of announcing something on that, and this is independent analysis of what we've produced. Commencement, we're already in the process of procuring and redesigning the plant based on what we've learned from this initial campaign, and the pilot plant construction will begin, effectively bringing a plant from China and putting it up there in a modular format. So that can be done in a relatively quick format. You're looking at effectively 6 months of construction, with us producing the 10 tonnes hopefully by the end of this year, early next year. We have a scoping study on the go. That's to help us with a pre-feasibility study. The scoping study was commenced in April. We would look to see that result come out early in the next quarter. We've got a second drilling campaign. There's a weather window where effectively it's closing now because of the wind. Interestingly, we'll be able to produce all year, but actually drilling in those environments, it's quite hard work, given it's very high up and it gets pretty cold in the winter. That window will reopen around about September, and we're going to do another 4 wells at Laguna Verde, and what we're trying to do is test the extent of how far the boundary of the reservoir is, and see what we can do in terms of that resource. We'll continue that second well we had to shut in at Francisco Basin, and probably drill another 2 or 3 wells there, again to look at the extent of what we've got at Francisco Basin. Both really exciting projects, both different, but both equally potentially hugely valuable.
Go on.
Yep.
3 minutes.
Okay. Strategic partner. We deliberately don't have an offtake partner. We're probably the only public company in the world that doesn't. We've got a number of options there. We're in conversations with household names under NDA. I can't really say any more than that, but we would hope to announce something in the latter part of this year. I'll go past the photographs. It's pretty dramatic shots. Our shareholder base, nearly 30% of our shareholders still owned by our founders and the board. We've got new institutions came in the IPO. We've got a Regal fund out of Australia's 9%, another fund out of Australia 8%. Rad Capital came in, Miton came in, and we've only got a market cap, you see there, around about £20 million. I'll point out 2 things in this. Lake Resources, 4.4 million tonnes. They're about a year and a half ahead of us in Argentina. They're doing what we're doing, DLE, and they're a market cap or an EV of $1.4 billion US dollars. We're slightly behind them with $19 million US dollars. Why are we like that? It's a new company. People don't know we exist. I'm talking to. I suspect a lot of people here didn't know we existed. We're trying to get the message out that we exist and we've got something we think is quite valuable. Does the 1.2 million exist? We'll be announcing something on that within the next 4 weeks from Joe in terms of the drilling campaign. Francisco Basin is a resource there. Again, we'll be announcing that. Is this brine suitable for extraction, producing lithium, battery-grade lithium? We announced that will be announced in the near future, and also we announced yesterday that the brine grade was far higher than we expected. Can the management deliver? We've delivered as a board significant projects, I mean, of scale, billion-dollar scale projects before. Funding, we've got funds to see us through to PFS. We'll look to raise additional funds when we get to the construction phase. Again, we're looking to strategic partners to come alongside us on that. Chile's been an issue. There's been all sorts of rumours in the market about Chile as a country, given there's a new government in play. We find them particularly warming towards us. We've had numerous conversations. They do want public-private partnerships. Yes, they do want to have a lithium state company, but that won't be exclusive. They'll work alongside us. We're green, so we're seen as good for them. And they've encouraged us to do certain things which I can't announce today, but will become public knowledge in the near future. So we're very pleased about the relationship we have with the Chilean government. The idea that the Chilean government does not support mining in the country for private industry is just wrong. And that's journalists out there who are spreading rumours out there. So just to summarise, we think we've got a de-risk path to production. Obviously we're doing that through a process. Bottom here was a quote by McKinsey. DLE can massively increase supply, and they make a comment there. Instead of 40% coming out of evaporation ponds, you can get more than double that. They say DLE is going to be part of the future, and a big part of the future of supply of lithium worldwide over the course. And I think I've been through the time. We can be on production late 24, early 25, which in mining terms is extremely fast. And we hope we can do it in an environmentally friendly manner. That's the driver of the company, and we think we can deliver that. So that's me.